Hey guys, Dantic bringing you some juicy facts about Bethesda's next up-and-coming new IP, Starfield. I've exhaustively dove into everything that's been confirmed about this title, and so far, this is the most comprehensive overview you can find, so buckle up, grab some dehydrated potatoes, and get ready to hear why you should be hyped for the next big space RPG. So Starfield is a sci-fi role-playing game by Bethesda, their first new IP in over 25 years. It's been in development since 2017, but has been something Todd Howard has wanted to make since the 90s. According to him, it's set roughly 300 years in the future of current Earth, but this is not a sci-fi version like we've seen in the Fallout series. This semi-realism translates over to many themes, which I'll be running through later. In Starfield, you're a new recruit to Constellation, which are the last group of space explorers. It's unclear why the word last is used. Perhaps there's no reason to explore anymore as technology hasn't caught up, or maybe some event has caused many to be eliminated, but we'll talk more about this specifically soon. Ashley Chen, a managing director at Bethesda, says that Starfield for her is a Han Solo simulator. Get in the ship, explore the galaxy, do fun stuff. Todd Howard says, be who you want, go where you want, which are both great elevator pitches, but what does this all mean to us? Well, firstly, when it comes to the RPG mechanics, Todd confirmed that in the beginning, you'll craft your character with many options for customization, as well as choose things like their background. This background will impact how some things in the game will unfold. The specifics are unclear, but we can assume it's similar to the Mass Effect 1 background or Elder Scrolls race selection options, which mostly influence dialogue. If it's something more substantial, I'll be colored surprised. Todd says Skyfield will be like Skyrim in space in that we can assume the freedom, agency, and customization. Skyrim and Mass Effect 2 just happen to be my favorite games of all time, so, don't screw this up, Todd. However, he also says it's a bit more hardcore of a role-playing game than we've done before. They want to allow players to express themselves more through their character. We know that Fallout 4 has received flack for toning down the RPG elements, and perhaps they've heard that feedback. In typical Bethesda fashion, they don't want to force you down particular paths and choices. Dragging by the nose, Todd calls it. Instead, you're encouraged to test the boundaries of the game. You may ask, can I read this book? Can I pick this up? Can I do this? Can I do that? And the game is going to say yes a lot. He also mentions that the game will have large-scale goals and storytelling, but minute-to-minute feels rewarding as well. He says, if you want to just pass time and go watch the sunset and pick flowers, it's rewarding in that way too. The game will be played both first and third person, but according to Todd, the primary way will be first. This is so you feel more connected to the world, so you can see and touch things. The visual style will be, as the devs call it, NASA punk, which seems to me like a seed of realism in a sci-fi setting. Bethesda aren't going out on a limb with something crazy, they're sticking to the typical single-player role-playing game formula that they do so well. The major difference will be that you can explore planets, exploration being a theme that Todd himself admires. On the shelf in the release day trailer, we see two books that, if you look into, are quite popular real-world books focused around exploration. Sailing Around the World by Joshua Slocum, which is a book about sailing around the world alone. It lends a powerful support to one of my theories about being transported somewhere alone, which I'll talk about soon. Todd also says it all has relevance when he was asked about the books. The other book is Omega: The Last Days of the World by Camille Flammarion. The story is about a comet on a collision course with Earth, so perhaps there is some doomsday event that spurs you on and forward. On the shelf is also a cracked helmet, suggesting you've been exploring dangerous frontiers, as well as a guide and this little number here, which has also been teased as containing an explorer's watch, which I suspect will be in the collector's edition. The watch probably functions as your in-game Pip-Boy of sorts. We've also seen pictures with your robot, which I'll discuss soon, in different locations with a different date. So the trailer tried to get across the theme, but this won't be a No Man's Sky procedurally generated go anywhere kind of space game. Instead, as Todd mentions, they have cities and they built them like they've built cities before. They have a lot of locations that they're building like they've built before, and they want that experience of you exploring those to be as rewarding as Bethesda has done before. Ultimately, the game will be handcrafted. They want you to point in a direction and walk, have your curiosity piqued and hopefully rewarded. Todd also reassures us that Starfield is an enormous game designed to be explored and played for hundreds or even thousands of hours like their previous titles. Todd says, "It's very big, people are still playing Skyrim and we learnt from that. We spent more time building Starfield to be played for a long time. It's got some more hooks in it for that we added later to a game like Skyrim, while still making sure that somebody who just wants to play it and go through the main questline and win, or feel like they've accomplished something large, is doable." So this is all great to hear. Though thinking about some hooks they added later to Skyrim was building houses, and that's something that would suit a game like Starfield like it has with Fallout. So how do you explore? Both on foot and in your spacecraft, the Starship Frontier NG-1350. During an interview with Destin Legary, Pete mentions that it's your ship, so no speculation needed. It's unclear if the NG-1350 means anything, but the ship will be your hub of sorts, as we can see a staging area, med packs, and personalization. We also see that it has weapons, shields, and a boost, all but confirming space combat, as there's no other reason for the three. It's probable you'll be able to upgrade your vehicle as well. In a developer video, we see a man typing away. Enhanced, it confirms the existence of space pirates called the Crimson Fleet, further lending fire to the idea of space combat. No doubt the pirates of the Crimson Fleet will be a faction you have conflict with, or can perhaps even ally with in Bethesda fashion, as we see their counterpart, the United Colonies and Mast, which may act as the law. Whether it be benevolent or not remains to be seen. I'm picturing a sort of Brotherhood of Steel type faction. According to Todd, the faction known as Constellation, this is the last group of space explorers. It's like NASA meets Indiana Jones meets the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a group of people that are still searching for answers. He goes on to say there are a lot of factions in the game, but Constellation is the main one you'll become a part of. It's kind of like Skyrim in terms of the structure of the game, where you're going to be who you want to be, and then there's different factions that you can join and really carve your own path. So in Skyrim, you were Dragonborn first and foremost, but you can join others like the Thieves Guild. I digress, the spaceship is not all you have access to. Pete also mentions in the same interview that it will be your robot. Yes, the robot we see walking outside the ship and giving a wave in the release date trailer is your companion. Hi there, little buddy. He's also shown to get in your ship before launch, so I guess you could have put two and two together. To further confirm, in an interview with Washington Post, Todd says, to help in the journey, there are a variety of robots. While there's nothing like Star Wars' C-3PO, there's one named Vasco. We can actually see Vasco mentioned on the wall scroll. It says, "Vasco, we're out of tranquility. Do not get decaf." Tranquility is a type of tea-like beverage that everyone seems to be mispronouncing, not that I can judge since I mispronounce basically everything. Perhaps your robots will kind of help you with gathering resources while you're out exploring, or perhaps they accompany you. We know there'll be a variety of them, and we know they will be helpful. I mentioned on-foot exploration. These are the concepts for gear. The first seems to be an underlayer of sorts for the next. The third piece seems to be a more raider type suit. We can see the Jolly Roger on the back, which leads me to believe this may be gear acquired from the Crimson Fleet mentioned earlier. Either way, gear will be in the game and it will influence how you explore and fight. We don't see any weapons on this suit, but we do see the protagonist lay down a weapon in the trailer, and lasers have been confirmed, so don't expect only innocent strolls on lifeless husks of world. Further confirmed by the fact that there has been mocap animation recordings of walking and running with weapons. Speaking of, according to Todd, there will be lasers, aliens, and explorable planets. So let's take a look at what we know about those planets. The first piece of concept we have is of a settlement city on a world with jagged rocks and greenery. We can see a huge planet or moon in the sky, so we know this isn't Earth. We can see alien birds flying across as well as air traffic. This planet has been well and truly settled, so when we come here we won't be trailblazing. Might be an area to pick up quests and stock up on supplies. The next area is a cave filled with an unknown gas. It's unclear if this is the protagonist in the picture. If so, can human companions accompany you, or maybe is this a robot? Who knows? Next is a factory building ships, suggesting working industry in this universe. Then we have a city the player has landed on, followed by a lush garden world where the foliage grossly oversizes the player. Then we have a city on the water, which has me suspecting that this might be the new Atlantis mentioned in the United Colonies letter. Then we have another world that could realistically be Earth, come to think of it, as it looks similar to alpine regions here. So no doubt the planets we get to explore will be rich and diverse. Last, we have what looks to be a toxic world, complete with alien creatures. Todd says there are alien races, but won't disclose how they tie into the game's realistic grounding. He says, there is a way we approach it, I will say that. So aliens are confirmed. Yes, there will be strange and interesting creatures, but probably not to the level of No Man's Sky. Or to the richness of Mass Effect, but they will be there. I mentioned this before, but Starfield is going for a touch of realism. You can still do things like fire lasers in the vacuum, but Todd says, after all, it's still a game. A game where he believes the player should have some kind of conceit. In Skyrim, you were Dragonborn and had magic. In Fallout, you had radiation and tech. It's harder to give a player power beyond equipment, but Todd says he's found a way. And I'm not sure if he means that literally or as a figurative thing, but I'm guessing you'll have more power than just simple technology in this universe grounded in realism. The game is set 300 years in our own future, not a fantasy one. Todd says this isn't Star Wars or Star Trek, it's kind of its own thing. And I think as we show more, hopefully it'll carve out its own niche. It's still a game, but it does like to give you a sense of, I buy the reality of it, right? So even the ship, which Todd says could have been designed much sleeker, is there to touch your mind back to the current space program. They have guns to remind you of the modern day, but that serves to make the exotic ones really feel exotic, as everything else has that realism to it. Even the ship you see in the release date trailer was designed to be functional. The buttons, the switches, they're all designed with a purpose. Todd wanted to stress that Starfield isn't a simulation, but its grounding on scientific reality is more paramount than something like, say, Mass Effect. He even visited Elon Musk and his SpaceX program to talk to the people who could see further than what he was seeing right now. He talks about how there's rules. You can't just communicate from one planet to another or send some remote thing. It would take years, and once they realized that, they used it to their advantage. This reality leads me to believe there has to be another way to travel around vast distances, which brings me to this mysterious alien object. It's already hotly debated in the community. What is it? What does it do? Theories are circulating, but with all the information I have already presented to you, I am fairly certain that this is an alien transportation device, one that lets you travel vast distances quickly like a wormhole. I base this off the fact that Todd found a problem, just how vast space is actually and how long it will take to travel, and needed a solution. On the key art, we see your ship beaming out of an object which looks strangely similar to the one here with the middle part coming out. In the trailer, there's a voiceover that says, "The key to unlocking everything," as it pans over this alien object, so take that how you will. On the image itself, it says, "We have so far been unable to determine what happens at the center." So at this point, I would go all in on saying that this device lets you explore frontiers and might just be the catalyst to the start of the game. Perhaps you get trapped on the other side of this device alone, which is why Todd says you're the last of the explorers. Trying to get back could be the motivation to explore, though that would clash with the art of planets already having been settled. On the website, they say, you can create your own story, but the overarching storyline is an epic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery. So what is more mysterious than an ancient device? Todd was also quoted in saying he wants to create experiences that transport you. Could this be a clever play on words, or is it just coincidence? Though with Todd, nothing really ever is coincidence. For example, when it comes to the name Starfield, there were no other names that the team considered. Todd said the game had to be named Starfield, suggesting that there is some kind of meaning behind it. Moving on, the trailer said it was using in-game alpha footage. Not sure just how accurate this will be to the release, but if this is what we can expect from gameplay, I'll be happy. The game will be using the Creation Engine 2, the first engine being famously used for most modern Bethesda games, for better or worse. If I had to guess, I'd say both Starfield and Elder Scrolls will be using this new engine. I mentioned an Explorer's watch before. Well, in the trailer, you see a watch case. As you're part of the constellation, you'll get an Explorer's watch that's part of the tone of how does this thing work, what does it do, what does it not do, according to Todd. So perhaps once you get this watch in-game, you'll have to discover how it works, potentially unlocking more functionality as you go. In terms of real-life versions of it, it looks like a fully functional watch you're able to wear, making me think this is the concept for the collector's edition. In terms of sounds, Starfield will have a full orchestral soundtrack. We're used to banging hits like I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire in Fallout, but Bethesda doesn't have that kind of history to lead into. Instead, expect more of an ambient, serene experience like from Skyrim. If this means we won't have a radio is yet to be seen, but if we do have one, it'll be part of the Explorer's watch. Finally, the planned release date is the 11th of November 2022, but don't get your hopes up. Release dates planned this far in advance rarely work out. Starfield is launching on PC, Xbox Series X and S. PlayStation users may be upset, but they get their own amazing exclusive titles. So that's all I have for you on Starfield. What do you think? Did I miss anything? Are you excited for the title? Let me know below. Like always, be sure to do the standard YouTube stuff and follow my socials. I'll be bringing you all you need to know, so for everything RPG, stay tuned. Ciao friends.